Thank you. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. I'd like to call to order the Education and Population Trends Ad Hoc Committee meeting. And I'd like to welcome our committee members today, Louis Alford, Mylan Blake, Nancy Kaysen. I don't see Mr. Fivas with us today. Tim Mason, Josh Taylor, Bill Winters, Mayor. Glad you're here today. And Mr. Chairman, glad you're here with us today. So we have a couple of things on our agenda that we want to go over. The first thing that we want to talk about today is the capacity study update. So Dr. Cash, I'm going to turn it over to you and we'll go from there.
So as we reviewed the capacity study, we started to expand it to say, okay, in order to handle the capacity that we have now and the capacity that we see coming in the next 3 to 4 years, we needed to develop a plan for growth and for buildings. And so we're going to start by taking you through some things that we have reviewed with the board and moving in the direction of Bradley County Schools providing for our students. So I'm going to actually turn it over to Mr. Corbett Drew, and we'll talk. And at any time, if you have questions, please just ask. Carter.
Thank you, Dr. Cash.
Thank you. To give you a little, we'll kind of run through several of the moving parts, and then we'll get to the ones that are focused on growth. The Bradley Central High School science wing expansion. We're in the final stages of procuring the grant that would facilitate kicking that off, hopefully in fiscal year 24-25. The Ocoee Middle School Building F addition to accommodate some new CDC classrooms. We are in our pre-development stages right now, about to kick off design. Anticipate that being open for start of school of the 25 school year. Yep, the tracks and kind of get to the ones that are growth focused. Hopewell, Parkview, and Waterville, kind of in that order, and we can talk about why. But let's jump in. Hopewell first. We've split Hopewell into 3 phases. We have a lot of pretty significant site constraints here with topography, massive drainage basin that runs just along Plan North, just above those buildings there. And it's really a constrained site in a lot of ways. So the plan was, and would it be better if I go over there and point to it?
Yes, please.
I'll speak loudly.
Yeah. Yes, because we're broadcasting.
Well, I can't get it out because
So Hopewell Elementary, we've split that into 3 phases for a host of reasons. Logistically, it has to work that way. The first phase would be a new building here, which is currently a parking lot and portables. This new building would be 2 stories, so that this is a 1-story existing condition, and we would bridge across to the 2nd story. So there's a significant grade drop from here to here. This is the bottom side of the hill. So the 2nd story here would be slightly above the 1st story here, and we would bridge across to that and build 12 new classrooms, 6 upstairs, 6 downstairs. We would also have the ability to extend that pretty easily in the future if there's another phase of growth. But for the current discussion, we're talking about 12 new classrooms, 6 up, 6 down. After that, I'll flip to the next. Just hit the right arrow. The second phase. The second phase. Well, okay. Well, we can just leave it. So the first phase would be add 12 classrooms here, 2-story facility. The second phase would be to demolish the existing building there that has some challenges, and collectively we don't believe it's worth trying to renovate. We think it's easier to just raise it, and the need is for gym and music classrooms anyway. So we would do a stage, music room, and gymnasium, again fitting with that same 2-story profile across there. The core would have elevator for accessibility, and then so the first phase is 12 classrooms. The second phase is the gym. And then once the gym is operational, we could take the old gym and repurpose that into library, RTI, and some other spaces. So those would be the 3 phases of, and we would expand with the 3rd phase. We would expand the cafe after we have the additional students, and once the enrollment has grown, we would need some additional seating in the cafe. So that would be part of phase 3 as well. Any questions? We'll go ahead and forward. I'll just stay over here. Yes, ma'am.
So I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So I know when we did North Lee and we did Black Fox, there were 4 classrooms. And do you see the growth in this area of town to warrant 12 new classrooms with the growth that's going on around the Benton Pike area?
Well, we'll get to that one in just a moment. But yes. So again, when we demolish this existing building, this 12 classroom new building is actually only a net add of 6 classrooms. So, 6 classrooms and 6 classrooms existing in this facility are going to go away. So adding the 12 classrooms in a single building over here is only a net add of 6 classrooms.
So what's wrong with the part of the building that you want to demolish?
Quite a bit. That building is old. It does not have any interior circulation. Every classroom exits to the exterior. It's a host of challenges. Low ceilings, operational nightmare. I did. I added that part.
I think, Madam Chairman, I think that's one of those rooms that, one of those areas that would be great if anybody wants to go visit it, because y'all would be appalled at what that situation is.
What will actually be in that section? What will you put in, when you demolish it, what will you put in its place?
So when that building is demolished, a gymnasium and music room and stage will go back into that space. It's in this facility, in that area.
Okay. Any other question, Mr. Alford?
What kind of time frame you looking at on those 3 phases?
So the first phase, we see that between design and construction spanning 2 fiscal years. The second phase, similarly, we would try to overlap them, overlap design of phase 2 with completion of construction of phase 1, so that if we're happy with the contractor on phase 1, we could potentially just change order the second phase in and not demobilize them and remobilize them. We'd like to roll straight into, there's some advantages there to rolling straight through. But we see about a 2-year span for the duration of phase 1 and a 2 fiscal year span of the duration of phase 2. Phase 3 is probably a little bit shorter than that because the scope is not as extensive.
Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Phase 3, what's your time frame on phase 3?
Phase 3, it's about 18 months.
So if phase 3 is so bad right now, why aren't you starting on it rather than adding new classrooms? Your old building you're talking about.
No, the old building, the existing, so the building that's so bad would be part of phase 2. But we build phase 1, we add new classrooms. We add 12 new classrooms, 6 new, 6 to replace the ones that will be demolished. And so phase 1 is necessary before we can close that building and get rid of it. Does that make sense?
So if we demoed that building first, we would have nowhere for those kids to go. So if we build the classrooms first, that keeps us operational. And then allowing them to roll into the new building while we begin to work on the gym.
So you're looking at 2 years on the new classrooms. So you're looking at 2 years to destroy the old classrooms. So you're looking at a 2-year project.
Yes, sir. That
2 or 3 or 4 years, actually. Do we have any kind of estimated cost on any of this?
we do. Yes. Are we? Are we diving into today, or are we?
Well, we can generally tell you we are. Of course, we have not put this out to bid, so we don't know, if these are accurate or not. But we can give you general cost, but we can't tell you, when we go whether that's going to hold with a bid or not. So, but we can, if you are looking at phase 1, which are the classrooms. You can tell them.
Yeah. Okay. So, phase 1, the addition of 12, or the additional classroom building, with some contingency and provision for escalation, we're looking at 8.3 million. Phase 2, the addition of the gym, music and theater portions would be 5.5 million. Again, preliminary estimates. Phase 3, the duration of that, we're looking at 9 months, by the way. Phase 3 would be a total of 1.3 million. Again, preliminary estimates.
I understand.
Subject to a very volatile market, but we're trying to be conservative.
Population-wise, you expect how much more population would that? Once you get our first 3 phases done, looking at population, what numbers of students you looking at that school?
So that takes Hopewell from 450 to 620 students. So it's 37% increase.
600 what?
620. And again, with the ability to add 8 more classrooms in the future if we needed to, there's space provided to add 8 more classrooms at a future phase if we need to. That would take it to an 800 student school. And I think operationally, I don't think the district has a desire to go beyond 800 in any of their facilities.
I actually don't have a desire to hit 800 in any of the elementary schools, but based on magnitude of growth and what we can do, we would look at that as we progress. But my goal with the growth that's over there is if that school can hold between 6 and 620, then I think we're in good shape for many years.
Are there other questions related to Hopewell? Mr. Williams?
While school is going on, the movement of students and the movement of faculty, everybody, you still have the road going around there.
Yes, sir.
So this would be internal construction within the road, inside the road, getting in and out with parents, so everybody would still be cleared away from the construction zone there. So you've got a pretty good plan of keeping school running while you're doing construction.
Yes, we will absolutely segregate construction operations from students, and not commingle any of that. Some of the logistical things that can get worked out with staging areas and make sure we don't take any material deliveries during drop off and pickup. Those kinds of things are easy to work around, but spatially it works.
Does the new addition cross over the area that we just built the past couple of years for the Hopewell Highway in the back? Is it still operational?
I can tell you nobody's touching that road.
I just wanted to make sure.
Nobody's touching that road.
Just wanted to make
I
sure.
appreciate it that it's faded and harder to see, but Hopewell Highway, as you referred to it, is still fully operational around the outside.
Okay.
Around the outside of this.
Thank you. I appreciate
Everything's
that.
interior to
Yeah.
that.
Madam Chair, when they started this, I said, nothing goes near that, nothing. So, thus the 2-story. So,
Commissioner Mason?
Dr. Cash, what's the population today at Hopewell?
they're at 435, and we are truly at capacity. We are squeezed in, but this will allow us to continue to grow and continue to accept kids. And I know that we've driven all over the county and looked at it, but the projection of what is coming in those years, this should hold us for a while. And then if we had to, and having the ability to add on again, of course that would be a decision by the Board of Education. at least that is there, because property-wise, that's about all you've got right now.
Any other questions related to Hopewell? Okay.
Parkview, Parkview Elementary, what we're proposing there is 2 4-classroom additions and relocation of the playground. So a little bit more straightforward there. We are going to have to reroute some of the site work, some of the roadway, the circulation roadway. It's a little bit more straightforward. 1 phase, 8 classrooms, and a parking lot. That would impact capacity. That would take Parkview from 435 students to 595 students, so an increase of 160 students, 37%.
And the cost?
Parkview is estimated at about 3.93 million.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
and one of the things with Parkview and trying to start with Parkview, it will allow me to download and rezone some students from Michigan Avenue as well as Oak Grove, so I can take some of the capacity off of those 2 schools when when we finish this, and knowing that, so I'm relieving 3 instead of just 1 by expanding Parkview.
When you look at Hopewell, Parkview, and Waterville, what would be your preference to start with?
Preference or all of them? My biggest, well, we're going to get to Waterville. Waterville is totally out of capacity. Hopewell is the one where the growth has magnitude so quickly that would be where I would start. Then I would move to Parkview, because the homes that are going up all around the Michigan Avenue area, so I can take care of that one. Oak Grove, I can give them back some of their classrooms that I have now with some special ed situations, so that I can allow them to grow through rezoning as well. But if I had to choose in what we're recommending, and we're recommending to the board, we start with Hopewell. Shortly behind that, we start with Parkview, and then we would move to Waterville, and we're gonna get to Waterville, because we have an alternate plan for Waterville while we're waiting on the next build.
Okay. And the time frame for the Parkview construction?
From the initiation of design until the certificate of occupancy, probably 18 to 20 months.
Okay.
It would be 2 fiscal years. It would span 2 fiscal years.
Are there any questions related to Parkview? Questions related to Parkview? Okay, cool.
Good. Thoughts? My IT knowledge, but I was going to turn it off and back on.
Now, that's kind of an insult there, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, you're right. It's close.
Back up. Back it up. Okay. Easy enough. Easy enough. Pardon? Back one. Here we go. Are we ready? At Waterville, it's kind of there several disparate kind of components here, but it would be an 8 classroom addition, basically extending that north wing further, plan north, south wing, but extending that further out would require relocating portions of the playground, not the entirety, but at least portions of the playground. And by increasing the number of students here, we would need to increase the size of the seating in the cafe. Kitchen would be sufficient, but we would extend the cafe for additional seating. We need to add ganged restrooms for the gymnasium, and they needed some storage for the gymnasium. And then the entire school needs PTA, the cafeteria, food services, maintenance, athletics. They all need some additional storage, so we would propose a pre-engineered metal building on site for collective storage use. So again, 8 classrooms, the addition of some seating in the cafe, restrooms for the gym, and some storage. Collectively, that would take Waterville from 600 to 780 students. So it's an addition of 180 students, a 30% increase. We're estimating that total project cost at $7.4 million in a duration of 18 to 20 months.
And Madam Chair?
Yes, ma'am.
And with that, that would be my max recommendation for that school. I would not want to go back and add any more to that, which will take us into a later discussion about the need for a new elementary school. In the meantime, as we're doing the others, we will place 2 portable classrooms at Waterville to relieve the population that we have right now. And because we have, again, we are at capacity and are using every single space that we have, and that would hold them and until we get the other projects done, and then we would come back around to that one.
So when do you plan to add the 2 portable classrooms?
This year.
For the 2024 fall?
Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm.
So are there any questions around Waterville?
The other benefit of the Parkview plan that we showed a few minutes ago is the core spaces, the gym, cafeteria. Those are all sufficient for that growth without the need for additional expansion. So that the bang for the buck is much stronger there.
Okay.
So we do want to swing back around, and Ellen, you're going to have to help me with this. So with the good work of the board, the business office, and watching spending and being very fortunate that we have had money come in from other areas. The OMS, which is the addition that would be for our special ed wing, would be the board would provide all the funding for that one. The addition of Parkview, the board would provide all the funding for that one. And the addition at Waterville, several the portables we would provide. And am I leaving one off? And then we would take on the beginning cost of the science wing when the science wing starts. So our current ask of the commission, obviously going through this meeting as well as finance, would be the financing for Hopewell And then we do request financing for the track projects at a timeline when the commission felt that was appropriate. I could make suggestions, but that would be a decision by yours. That gets us started with all projects and working with the commission, and particularly with Hopewell in the beginning to get that started.
Questions? Commissioner Blake?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Back to the science wing, what are your costs on that and the Fed's part, our part, your part? How's that itemized? Because that's a grant, right?
It is partially grant. So the total cost for the science wing as of now is right at $12 million, $11,954,408.
Oh,
So the upfront cost that we believe we need, Ellen, 3.1, 3.2, which would be the responsibility if what we propose you accept, that would be the responsibility of the school system. And then the grant would finish out the rest of that property, as we have been working with the federal government. Now, of course, we all know we plan for a little more just because you don't ever know what's going to happen. But so soft cost, those beginning costs would be with the Board of Education.
So what you said, 3.2, sorry, 3.2, that's going to be in your budget.
Yes, sir.
So you don't, sorry.
No, it's 3 point. Yeah, we've already spent some money in architectural fees and soft cost
Yeah.
and some things like that.
But not millions yet, right?
No.
Yeah. It was 3.2 is what I heard.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
3.2.
3.2 is going to come out of yours.
Yes, sir.
How much is going to come? How much do you need from us?
At this time, we are not proposing to request money from the commission for the science wing, as long as that money stays stable from the grant. But we are requesting the Hopewell and the 2 track projects. The track projects, of course, would be at the decision of y'all.
So you mentioned earlier that you're close to a decision, I guess.
They are
the
in
Department of Education in Washington or something is going to give
Well,
you the green
they're
light?
actually now in Tennessee evaluating the projects in Tennessee. So we've had more communication with them in the last month to 2 months than we've had in 2 years. And so they asked us to change a few things, and so those things were changed. Both the mayor and we signed off on them. So we're expecting we are working with the federal government, but we would say sometime within this spring area we would hear back from them. There were no red flags. The things that they requested to change were not major changes, and so they were accommodated by the architect.
So by the end of this school year, or by the end of
Well,
August, or
yeah, you would start into, we hope by the end of August, we are starting into the construction planning phase, which means those documents are being, so once you start construction planning, what happens? How many?
that's why I mean you start moving dirt in August, or
Well, it
or
got a second phase.
you're,
Yeah, right now we only have design development documents. We still have to develop, the architects and engineers have to complete the full set of construction documents with the upgrades for FEMA that were necessary. But if we released, kind of on the soft costs of it, if we released the soft costs this spring, we could have, I'm remembering everything now. We would have design in hand this fall. We would have permit in hand by the end of the year. We would be bidding it in January, February.
okay, so we'll put in
And
about this time next year then. So the money that you've already spent right there, does that count towards your obligation toward the percentage of the grant?
Yes.
Okay. And let's fast forward to when this is complete. This is a new science wing with all kinds of gee whiz stuff in it. You're going to have new. Is there operation? So this is the cost of getting the building going and turning on the lights, so to speak. Then you got your ongoing cost every year in your budget. In other words, you build a new school, you're gonna have to need teachers and principals
Yeah,
and all
well,
that.
we are actually so overcrowded at Bradley right now with teachers sharing classrooms that the current teachers we have would be the ones that moved into this. We also have all the furnishings and everything already designed in this budget so that we could start and move forward because we knew from past experiences we needed to include everything. So unless that population grew, then we would not be hiring new administrators or anything because you're not increasing your population. You are building a building to accommodate what is already there, where they're double rostering in classes and moving and
Gotcha.
shifting.
So the recurring cost after is minimal.
I mean, I'm sure we'll have to,
I mean, you don't
buy.
have electricity and all that kind of stuff, but
Yes,
as far as salary, I guess what I'm getting
we'll be
you just
good.
answered that. Thank you.
Are there other
Unless I get like 200 more students, and then I have to start adding, but money follows the student. So, yeah.
Are there other questions? Okay. Can continue on, please.
Just wanted to, again, there was, at the last ad hoc committee meeting, there was a lot of talk and to look at county maps and all of that, and we just wanted to reinforce that with the 3 corridors. Reinforcing the priorities, the growth corridors in the northwest. You see a lot of homes, not just the development going in, but you see rooftops already there, and that reinforces the need for Hopewell's priority. And then you shift over to the north, and there's quite a bit already underway there. Quite a few rooftops already existing. The growth is there. That supports that actually, and the stuff on the east side both feed into that Benton Pike crowding. So with the growth on the north, we could split that between North Lee and Michigan Avenue, Parkview. But those two growth corridors would be alleviated with the expansion at Parkview. I think that was it.
Going on, and with moving in those constructions, we are also being very diligent about looking for sites for new schools. So again, we predict and are looking for property on the north side for a new elementary school. We will begin to look on the south side for property, and then we do believe at some point we will need a middle school on the far north end as well, because once all these elementary schools get populated, you're going to need middle schools, a middle school for them too, and that's far-reaching. That's a long way down the road, but that's what you're seeing your population do.
So I know there's been discussion from the city about adding on to Candies Creek Elementary. So if the city chooses to add on to Candies Creek Elementary, does that change your thought process related to Hopewell?
It does not. There's so many homes going up in and around that area, and it is also showing that even further down Georgetown, you're going to start more buildings. So if it takes us let's just say we were in a 2 to 4 year span to complete Hopewell, my prediction is it will be full long before we're completed, along with the growth that's inside the city.
Okay. There are other questions? Mr. Alford?
In your population concern, is all that growth area you're talking about, are you figuring outside city zone or inside city limits?
It's both. That land that's over on, is it Durkee, Mr. Taylor? That's over there. That, yeah, Durkee and Benton Pike, it crosses over into both. Now, the property going as far up on the north end, that is still county property. So it's in both. But right now, what I have is every school is needing space. So for the Parkview area, I will actually rezone some of the kids that are already zoned in the county. I will rezone them so that I can begin to relieve some of that population.
Mayor, I know You have a letter, we got a letter the other day asking that the city and y'all start talking about their, adding more to their,
Growth boundary.
growth boundaries. Is that something that's gonna add more to their city limits, might say?
It will give them the ability to add, yes.
Have
It'll give
y'all-
them more area that they can annex.
Yeah. Are y'all looking at that at all?
Well, when we look, we are looking at the households that are in those boundaries, and as you know, that in the county, the residents pay both, or in the city, the residents pay both county and city taxes. So what we have found is homes that are closer to the county schools tend to navigate toward those county schools, and you know, in my personal opinion, we are very very good school system, so that's where they want. I think it's all honestly. Commissioner, I think it's all going to start to merge so that you're just going to have populations everywhere. That this whole area is just going to explode. So
Did I hear the word merge?
no, sir, you did not. Not from me. No, sir. That was not what I meant. What I meant to say was I think that our growth in the whole Bradley County and Cleveland area is just going to explode. So I don't think we can keep up with the population growth.
I fully understand the whole county is exploding. That was the reason I asked the question.
Yeah.
Are we going to continue to contain? If you made the comment, but if you do remember, there's all kind of laws that says you don't have to take city kids. It's been tried in court several times.
Mm-hmm.
So my point there is, in your studies and everything, and you going outside the city limits and doing this adding, are we going to continue the process that we're doing right now?
We would take and enroll outside students if we had space. Once we don't have space, we do not take them anymore. Right now, especially when I'm looking at Waterville, I'm still filling that whole area up with in county. I mean, they're all county students and they're still coming in. I will tell you, we also have an influx of people that are of minorities, so that may be ESL students that are all in the county. So they're coming in on daily rates. So my in county residents are increasing. Now, when I tell you where they are, I mean they're all just in and around the whole area. So the majority of them, I would say, are zoned for that south side and Michigan Avenue on that south side. We don't seem to be getting as many on the north end, but on the south side, it's growing rapidly.
Has the school board thought about kids coming in from outside Bradley County in our county schools at all? Or have y'all looked at any kind of population in that area?
Yes, sir, we have, but I think it would be important to note right now there is a bill in the Senate that passed out of the Senate that allows open boundaries with us, and it does not leave us the opportunity to deny any student. So if they're in our county, but I can't tell you where that's going to land, but that's been up there now for this is year 2 that it's come up. It has a lot of legs on it right now. So let's just say there were, I'm just going to pick a number. There were 100 kids from Hamilton County that wanted to come over. Well, typically, you know, we appreciate you, but you know, we're at capacity. I won't be able to tell them that they cannot enroll in my school. Is the way that is worded right now.
I hope the state's going to provide money to add schools.
I do too. I do too. And I asked, have you looked at the physical capacity of that? And I didn't get a response. So, but that is up there right now.
Would you look that bill up sometime, Miss Lori?
It's going to be in your Senate. Josh, let me help me. I don't know what the Senate bill number is, but it's in two
all right.
places.
We'll find
But
it.
it's the Senate bill that's for the vouchers is where it sits right now, and then there's another one that has the same language in it.
Are there other questions?
Well, on that, that would mess up maintenance of effort quite a bit, wouldn't it? I mean,
I don't know that that's been thought all the way through, as far as.
because we kind of know the formula with us in the
Yes.
city, and then Hamilton County pays taxes as well, but only to Hamilton County. I mean,
when
And
when
if
I
Bradley
when
County kids went to Hamilton County, would we have to do an ADA with them? I mean,
I
that
don't
gets
think they
really
thought
messy.
that all the way through. I think they just want to say you should be able to go wherever you want to go.
Talked about
Other questions? Okay, you all can continue on.
Are there any questions of clarity about what our request is moving forward from the commission would be Hopewell and then the track? And if you want us to go back and review the track, we can review that as well.
Can we go back to the science wing for a second?
Yes, sir.
I mean, will the federal government, I guess the other ones, they let you guys handle the project? They don't come in and sign the project?
We handle the
manager?
project, yeah.
They just hand you the funding and tell you to go forth and do well?
Yes. I am 100% sure they send people to inspect.
Sure.
But other than that, the expectation is for you to follow the plans that you turned in. I think the mayor's probably had more experience with working with them in those grant situations than we have.
Any, Commissioner Alford?
I'd like to review the track.
Sure.
Sure.
So the sum total, we'll call this a wish list, but discussions with the athletic department. This is a survey, hard to see at the scale, apologies, but they want to expand the track from 6 to 8 lanes and resurface it completely. They'd like to use the infield of the track for other events, ROTC, marching band, soccer, lacrosse, which would mean all the other track events, the field portion of the track and field would have to be located outside of the infield. So the long jump runways, or the long jump, the pits for all of those, and discus, all of those things would have to happen outside of that. In order to expand the track and accommodate those kinds of things, we would have to shift it. We would have to shift so you couldn't expand it as it sits because of the embankment, the other fields. So we would have to turn that some, which means there's some grading and drainage work. So there's about $1 million of site prep, grading and drainage modifications in order to be able to shift that and accommodate all of that. The track expansion itself is about $1.5 million. If you wanted to do an artificial turf infield, that would be a $500,000 upgrade. A field house and concession that would have locker rooms, training rooms, a public address, and concession and public restrooms that could serve softball, track, and tennis would be about a $2.5 million add, and then amenities, bleachers, new equipment for all the track and field events would be about $1 million. So that total is 7.2. But if you were just to limit it to the expansion and resurfacing of the track, you would do the drainage and the track expansion, and that total would be about 2.5. And then Walker Valley is a little bit simpler. It's just a resurfacing, not an expansion, and the estimate there is about $300,000.
Mr. Taylor?
I was just going to say, we had looked at this and talked about, this being done in phases. And so kind of that first section of that first phase, can you go back over again, just what that cost is? Just the track
back
and
at Bradley?
Yes.
Okay. So the first portion of that would, if we were just to do the site work, the grading and drainage, and then shift that and expand it to 8 lanes, would be about $2.5 million, plus some soft costs. And in doing that site work and that grading and drainage, doing all those improvements, you could facilitate with that first phase of design and construction, you could accommodate and make provision for the future addition of all those things. But you would not have to do those as part of the first phase.
Commissioner Alford?
If you're gonna do the first phase, my understanding right now, they don't have much of a storage space or restrooms up there in that area. Is that not included in any of that, other than doing the grand finale at the other side of it? Have you figured that if you did just the track with some bleachers, a storage facility, and restrooms for the tennis courts and track, did you look at that concept at all?
Not necessarily. I mean, we certainly can. But the first phase, the first portion, the first phase of this was just to expand the track, to do the site work, grading, drainage, and then expand the track to 8 lanes.
What kind of surface are you talking about on the track?
Kyle, you want to address that? The track surface? It would be the same as Walker Valley.
No, I understand that. So, what's the time frame on that part of it, or getting the track started?
The grading and drainage, probably figure about 4 months of design, probably 10 months of construction.
And would that be done first before you do Walker Valley, or do them both at the same time?
You could do those concurrently. It really depends on funding.
All right.
Whenever I can operate concurrently, and
I don't question that. So you're looking at phase, what is it, that final phase, is that Walker Valley included in that other phase?
Walker Valley would be
All
separate.
of them included in one package? Okay. That's what I'm saying. So if you included Walker Valley, if you did all the phases you're talking about, what would be the final cost?
2.8 plus soft costs, so figure $3 million.
No, that's for the whole project.
Oh, for the whole project, with the field house and everything.
3.5. I mean 7.5.
7.5. Okay.
Commissioner Blake.
Dr. Cash, so you are proposing an expansion and somewhat of an overhaul with Hopewell Elementary, an expansion with Waterville, and an expansion with Parkview. So can we assume that all the others, you can't expand them or it's not time for them? I mean, you have Prospect, Michigan Avenue, Valley View, Oak Grove, and so forth and so on.
As we looked at those, and we did look at, there were very few areas that we could expand without having to touch the cafeterias and the gyms. So at this time, that would be where we would recommend the expansions go to. Now, when you, for instance, I'll take Valley View. Valley View, there's so many lines underneath there. It's more intricate and almost not cost effective to go into those to look at. There are some ways, but I'm not sure that that's the direction that I would move for now. I would not recommend. And when you look at Prospect also has some concerns and issues. That is one that later on you might want to, but they still have some grandfathered pieces in that we are looking more at a push toward Hopewell than we are Prospect. And when we rezone, the thoughts there are if we build a school on the south end, then I am relieving 3 or 4 schools when we have to do that. Right now, we're okay at Prospect. If I have another new subdivision come in there that starts to be zoned for that school, we'll have to go back and look at that one.
But so there is capacity and cost, to expand those schools. Just right now it doesn't.
You're not going to get as many classrooms as you can, like at Hopewell, where we have room to add all those additions. And at Waterville and Parkview, you don't have the space to get as many classrooms as we would need to get. But they're all tight.
I mean, we're not gonna hold you to it,
Yep.
but it's looking to the future. Hopewell's done, Parkview's done, and Waterville's done. There's no more capacity to expand any of your elementary schools. At that point, it's time to start looking for a new school.
I would look for a new school. Yes, sir.
We asked that you think of expanding all your elementaries first. Thank you.
We actually talked with the architect and looked at in some of the other schools you're looking more at renovations and maybe adding 1 or 2 classrooms, but not a full scale impact where you could increase by 100 to 300 kids. You don't have that kind of opportunity.
But it would Hopewell, you're willing to go 2 stories and build up, so to speak. It does. So you mentioned Waterville from just a pure population point of view. You're tapped out. I mean, your elementaries. We've always heard that they're obviously smaller. That's why you have more of them. You wouldn't want a 1,400, 1,500 elementary
No.
school, so to speak.
No.
But these are more architectural and building constraints than population of students
Yes.
constraints with these.
Mr. Taylor?
Just to add to Mylan's point there, as a board member and as a board, I can tell you that we tried to look at this as conservatively as possible to get the most out of the amount of money being spent. And so these schools that we've chosen to do these additions on, or we're proposing to do these additions on rather, are the ones that are most accessible to do so. So Parkview, you're not going to have to, it's got a very large gym and a large cafeteria. So without really touching anything, you can add to this. With the project at Hopewell, we're able to do that without interfering with the current student body that's there. Some of these other buildings, because of their age, and there's some laws in effect that once you touch that building, you've got to bring all of it up to code, which may not necessarily be feasible to do. You're talking about renovating or almost demolishing an entire school to be able to get it back up to code just to do an addition on it.
But correct me if I'm wrong, we made an agreement, I'll call it that, out at Taylor with Mr. Stepp to have more property so that we could expand, correct, Mayor?
Well, now think about when you're thinking about Taylor, you're building. You would build whole new sections, but that Taylor population, unless that property sells and you start to fill in there, you don't have that population growth hitting over there like you do on the north and the south end. But if they ever do come back and sell that farm that's across from it, and that starts to build up, then we'll have to look at that. But if you go out there, that land that we traded with, you could put, but it would be a new addition, but you would have to connect. So you wouldn't be touching the existing school. You're adding almost like a new wing.
That only becomes an issue if you're touching what is already existing. So in the instance you're talking about with Taylor, in the event that there's needed to be growth out there. As Dr. Dash was saying, that would be a separate building, not attached to the original. Yes, yes, was to so that there is room for growth out there.
Plus, we needed a drive at that time. We didn't have a way to get really around that building.
Okay. Are there other questions related to the capacity study that they presented today? Commissioner Alford?
Is it a possibility that we could get a hard copy of your study?
Yeah, the we're talking about the one, Mr. Taylor and Ms. Kaysen, that had the population growth and
That's
pieces.
the one I'd be interested in.
Yeah.
If you could send it to Lori, she could see that we got it.
Yeah. Yeah, we sent that after the last committee meeting.
Okay. Okay. Are there any other questions related to the capacity study? Okay. Next on the agenda is item B, which is the Affordable Connectivity Program Extension Act. And you can see on page 2 and 3, there are letters that were sent to Senator Haggerty's office. The first letter being from the mayor and the second mayor being from the commission, requesting that Bradley County be included in any appropriation funding that is still available for internet access in our community. So those letters were sent back in March. The mayor's was sent in February, and the commission sent one in March. So there are any questions related to the letters that were sent? Okay, next on our agenda is item 4, which is unfinished business. Is there any unfinished business or anything anyone has a question about? Commissioner Alford?
One other question, Ms. Cash. Have we contacted our state senators and folks about this grant? Have we been in touch with you? I know you and I
Yes,
had
sir.
talked about that.
Yes,
Have
sir, we did. We sent letters and received letters back where they would check into it and look into it specifically from Haggerty's office and Fleshman's office. So they were following up with that for us to push it. I actually think that's probably why we started getting feedback from it.
Okay. How long ago was that?
January.
Do we need to follow up with a letter from us or another?
I think that would be great. I will. Lori may have their contacts, but we can get a layout of what the timeline where we submitted and all of that to Lori, and then I think you guys sending it up may. I know that they are in Tennessee evaluating now, so I think that would be a positive thing to do.
Chairman Cry, if that would be a possibility to develop a letter, send to our senators and so forth to encourage them to move on this grant. It's
For
been
the science
sitting there,
grant.
3 years now?
2.
2?
We're into 3 now.
Going into 3 years. If we'll need to bring that up, I guess, in front of the commission for the permission to do that.
I'll bring it up Monday. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Right. Sure. Turn your microphone on.
A city district of the county. And I hope there is dialogue that's going between city and county of the growth, because my constituents pay for both of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there is a need, and I think that's planning with some dialogue that the mayors have initiated. But there needs to be this long-range planning that will assist taxpayers, even though with the growth happening, with personnel coming in, new populations that will be assuming those taxes, is that we're looking really strongly at what the city's doing at the same time as what the county's doing, so we don't get the overlapping at a point when the taxpayers hit, as well as the finances of both.
I am sure that both Ms. Kaysen and Mr. Taylor would recommend that we reach out to Joe Fivas and to the city school board and the city council, and probably with Ms. Slater, so that we could get something where we could talk about it. I don't have a problem with that, Ms. Kaysen, Mr. Taylor. We will gladly facilitate that.
Any other unfinished business? Dr. Cash, I appreciate you and your team coming today. I know we've tried to schedule this
know.
meeting several times and it got canceled for various reasons. So I'm glad that we were able to meet today, and I appreciate all the information that your team has shared with us today. The other item on the agenda today is communication from the audience. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to stand and speak for 5 minutes about anything?
How about the lady, Marita, back there, Marita Williams?
Okay. If no one, do you all have anything that you want to end or share before we close, Dr. Cash? Okay. All right. I'd like to wish everyone a happy Easter and enjoy your couple of days off. And this meeting is adjourned.